The heaviest walls are the ones we cannot see. This isn't about physical prisons. It's about the prisons we build in our own minds. It speaks to the most powerful and dangerous limitations that exist, the ones we accept as fact, the barriers we believe are absolute, and the impossibilities that are handed down to us by experts and woven into our culture. These invisible walls are far more restrictive than any physical barrier, and the most fascinating thing about them is the moment they crumble. I want to take you to a specific moment in time when one such wall, a wall in the collective human psyche, was shattered forever. For decades, throughout the first half of the 20th century, there was a sacred number in the world of athletics: 4, the 4-minute mile. It was more than just a record, it was seen as an unyielding barrier to human performance. Doctors and physiologists published papers arguing that the human body was simply not capable of it. They claimed our hearts would burst, our lungs would fail. It was, according to the science of the day, a physiological wall. It was impossible. And because the experts said it was impossible, everyone believed it. For years, the world's best runners would get agonizingly close. 4 minutes and 2 seconds, 4 minutes and 1 second. But the wall held. They would hit an invisible limit, as if their own bodies were obeying the medical dogma they had been taught. Then came a young man who was both a world-class runner and a full-time medical student. His name was Roger Bannister. Because he was a student of science, he didn't just accept the dogma, he questioned it. He studied the mechanics of running and the physiology of the human body, and he came to a different conclusion. He believed the barrier wasn't in the body, but in the mind. He believed the wall was made of doubt, not flesh and bone. On a cold, blustery day, May 6, 1954, at a small track in Oxford, England, Bannister decided to try to break it. The conditions were terrible, with a stiff wind blowing against the runners. He almost decided not to run, but the race began. For 3 laps, he ran at a punishing pace, tucked behind his pacemakers. Then came the final lap. The bell rang, and he was on his own. He described a feeling of immense struggle, his body screaming at him to stop, every stride an act of will. This was the moment the invisible wall was at its strongest, the moment where everyone else had failed. But Bannister pushed past the pain, past the doubt, and lunged for the finish line, collapsing into the arms of the officials. The crowd waited, breathless. The announcer picked up the microphone, his voice crackling over the loudspeaker. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "here is the result of Event 9. The time was 3. The roar of the crowd drowned out the rest of the announcement. He had done it. 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds. The impossible had been achieved. But here is the most important part of the story. This is where it becomes a lesson for all of us. For decades, no one could break the 4-minute barrier. But just 46 days after Roger Bannister shattered that invisible wall, his rival, John Landy, ran the mile in 3 minutes and 58 seconds. The following year, 3 runners broke the 4-minute barrier in a single race. Soon after, it became the standard for elite runners everywhere. What had changed? Had the human body suddenly evolved in 46 days? Had running shoes or track technology dramatically improved? No. The only thing that had changed was the belief in the wall. Once Bannister proved that the barrier was merely a phantom, it vanished from the minds of all the other runners. The wall that they could not see was broken, and they were finally free to run as fast as their bodies had always been able to. So I ask you to look at your own life. What are the 4-minute miles you have accepted as impossible? What expert opinions have you internalized as absolute truth? What invisible walls have you allowed to define the limits of your potential? Roger Bannister taught us the most profound lesson of all. that the heaviest walls are indeed the ones we cannot see, and that the moment you stop believing in the wall, it ceases to have any power over you.